Alright, so this is going to be part 10 to What If Deku Had All For One. So with that being said, let's just roll the intro.
Treat a bad bitch like she average. I'm a savage, no hoe, what you want do? I'm about cash if the wild fast. I'ma get that little nigga by any means.
Alright, so in the last part we just got done with the kind of forest training arc. So right now we're getting to the All For One fight. So, the thing that's the biggest difference between this and canon is that they were actually able to not have anyone be taken away, and their motivations were different. Before, they wanted to, in canon, they wanted to take Bakugo and make him into a villain, but in this one, they just wanted to kill Deku. They tried to take some of the kids as hostages, but it didn't work out. And yeah. So, in this one, Momo would still have that tracker on that Nomu and give it to the authorities just to confirm the location, because they already know that where it's at. It's just a little extra to kind of confirm that kind of location. So, because Bakugo was never, taken, he was never the class don't the class doesn't really have that kind of motivation to go and seek out the villains like they did in canon. So because of that, Kirishima, not Kirishima, I'm pretty sure it's Kirishima. He doesn't have that kind of, he doesn't have a reason to try to go after the villains. So yeah, so that chief of police would still get the heroes in the general area together so they can make this raid on the attack, and UA would still have that kind of press conference with the to discuss the issues about the safety of the kids and things like that. So All Might would be bringing two people with him. The first would be Deku, obviously, because he's very strong and he knows he's a capable fighter, and he's also the reason why the villains are after. So he's bringing him along, but he's also going to bring Mirio, because if I remember right, Mirio is actually the successor for One For All. So he also has a lot. He knows. He's able to use a lot of it. At this point, I would say he would know how to use around 50% of it, which is a lot more than Deku in canon. And he's a lot more muscularly built, so his One For All, or All For One, One For All, yeah. His One For All might be even stronger than Deku's, but we don't really know that for sure. So, yeah. So, Aizawa would still have that kind of press conference with the, for the school, and the media would try to see what, or they would try to berate him, I guess. They would say like, oh, they would ask him like some questions to make him look bad, right? To basically kind of do that. But at the same time, they can't really do too much since there wasn't really any students that were hurt during the forest arc and also the USJ arc. So there isn't really much they could say about him. But he does say things about how they're going to increase security, and they're also going to put in a dorm system so that it'd be harder for villains to get in and hurt the students, just how you would normally do in canon. But it's a lot. It's taken better since there isn't students that are hurt. And as this is going down, Shigaraki would be watching this, and he would be kind of laughing to himself, thinking that UA is really in the hot water because of this. And as he's thinking this is when someone would knock on the door, and they'd be questioning like, what's happening? And then before they could react, this is when All Might jumps through and kind of breaks through and says, I am here. And after that, the kind of other heroes come in to kind of subdue him. Like, I forgot the name, but the guy with the wood abilities that could kind of like lock them all in place. So as this is going down, Shigaraki's just thinking to himself like, this isn't fair, you should be dead and things like that. And as he's thinking this, some like strange like black liquid comes out of him and the others, causing them to kind of warp out of there. And right, the last second, as All Might trying to capture him, he disappears, and All Might screams no, and they get information, or they get a word through the comms that the place that the that Mount Lady and Best Genius were at was attacked. So he has a pretty good idea where All For One could be at. So he tells Deku and Mirio to follow him, and as he rushes towards the base, the base where the Nomas were at. So they would get there a little bit faster than they would in normal, because in the canon he got there around I think 30 seconds, and it was 5 kilometers away. So in this one, let's just say he would get there in 3 seconds, right? It's around 10 times faster, I believe, something like that. But yeah, it's kind of weird to scale it, since his prime is supposed to be 60 times stronger. But let's just say that it's because of the different kind of buildings that are there are kind of not letting him go as fast as he could. So Deku would get there around 4 seconds later after All Might, and then Mirio would come 5 seconds after Midoriya or Deku. So when they would get there, they would see a man in a kind of black suit with this weird kind of device on his head, and Deku's kind of he feels some strange kingship with him, and he doesn't know why. And this is when All Might would start to speak up and basically say, "So it really is you, All For One." And as Deku actually hears this, kind of this kind of clicks in his mind, and he's like, "So this is the guy that I've been compared to all my life, huh?" And Deku is kind of getting angry at this point, because all of his life he knew that a lot of people, even though he was working with All Might, were scared of him because of this All For One character. And he's kind of fed up with it. He's been fed up with it for a long time now. He thought he could change and he could forget about it, but he really can't. It was a big part of his childhood, and it really changed him and how he looks at things. That's why he is really desperate to become a hero, to kind of change people's minds. So he tells All Might, "Can I fight him on my own?" And All For One would be questioning this, and he would start, he wouldn't laugh, but he's like, "Do you think a rookie like you can, take on the mastermind behind all of this?" And Deku's like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can." And he would rush towards him, and this is when All Might would be like, "Young Midoriya, don't." And before he could do anything, this is when Deku would try to punch All For One, and he would use that kind of gust of wind to slow him down, grab his kind of fist and throw him back into a building, because Deku in this one isn't as strong as a Prime All Might. Because he has Muscular's quirk, it has its limitations, and it's not as strong as someone like All Might's Prime. So he wouldn't really be able to push him that far. So he would still have that kind of same limitations that the original All Might had in the fight. So as that's happened, this is when All For One would say, "Look, Toshi," I believe that's actually All Might's name. He'd be like, "Look, Toshi, not even one of your strongest students can fight me. You, an old man withering away, can't hope to beat me either." And as he's saying this is when Deku would teleport back and straight up punch him in the face, knocking him back a few meters. And All For One would be like, "Huh, I wasn't told you had teleportation. I might have to take that from you later on." And this is when Deku was like, "Yeah, you're never gonna have that chance ever again." And he would try to teleport towards All For One again, and All For One would be ready for this. And this is when he would teleport, or he would warp in Mirio to kind of block the punch. And this is when Mirio would become intangible and sink through the ground. And this is when Deku would be able to hit him pretty straightforward again, knock him back. But this one was it was less, because he was blocking it with his hands, because he had that kind of grab position when he was grabbing Mirio. So yeah. And after that was done, this is when All Might would tell Deku, like, Deku, or he would say, young Midoriya, we have to work together to beat him. You need to concentrate. And this is when Mirio would be like, yes, that's right, Izuku. We need to, be able to defeat him together to make this, take no chances, right? So after that was done, this is when All For One would get up pretty unscathed and kind of shaking the dust off his suit, and he would be like, okay, you guys are getting really annoying. And this is when he would start shooting those kind of lasers from his hands, just how he would normally do in the anime. I'm pretty sure that was one of his powers. So they would have to kind of run for a bit, and this is when Deku would use his black lightning in combination with his fire to kind of shoot towards All For One. And this would burn him a little bit, but it wouldn't do too much damage. So Deku starts making more fire clones to go and chase after All For One. But All For One uses his, powerful gusts of wind to kind of punch back. And at this point, he's very tired. So he's like, I'm just gonna end this pretty quickly. And he does that kind of combination of all those kind of quirks together. And he rushes to go and punch Deku to try to kill him. But All Might would go and block the hit for him, getting knocked back in the process. And this is what happened. So Mirio's like, alright, Deku, or Izuku, kind of follow my lead, right? So he's like, okay, what do you want me to do? And what he asks of Deku is that, okay, I want you to throw me towards the ground. And he's like, what? He's like, yeah, after you throw me to the ground, what I want you to do is get All For One somewhat in the air and knock him towards the ground as well. And if you could do that, we'll probably win. And Deku's like, what? Probably? He's like, yeah, just go with my plan, alright? So Deku kind of throws Mirio into the ground, right? And Mirio uses his kind of his permutation quirk to go further through the ground, right? So he doesn't, get stopped. So after this is done, Deku's like, alright, All Might, we need to get him in the air somehow. And alright, so what happens after this? All Might rushes towards All For One and goes for a punch, right? But then it has that recoil that it normally has. So All Might goes for a second punch straight to the face and tries to go and hit him. So All For One gets knocked back pretty far enough to go towards Deku's direction. And what Deku does is that he actually kicks him using his, muscular quirk into the air. And after he's in like that kind of free fall state, this is when Deku actually teleports into the air with All For One and actually punches him towards the ground. And as that's done, this is when Mirio, right before All For One actually hits the ground, this is when Mirio would come. And because he was so far down, and the way that his quirk works is that when he becomes solid again, it makes him shoot upwards basically in an instant, right? So if you would take the kind of formula for speed, I think it's like distance over time. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's distance over time. But yeah, so because it's a further distance and the time is always the same, it's gonna be faster, and the force that Mirio's punch is gonna have is a lot higher because of that. Combine that with All For One or One For All using 50%, and it's a very devastating hit. So he launches through the ground, and as All For One is about to touch it, he actually comes through and punches him straight in the face, causing him to get knocked out. And this is how they actually win, using that kind of combination attack. And All For One would really not be able to survive this, or not. He'd be able to survive it, but just he wouldn't win, right? He wouldn't be able to stay conscious after that kind of massive blow. And after that's done, Mirio would start breathing heavily because he had to hold his breath for nearly a minute. And Deku would be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I didn't know it would take so long." He's like, "No, it's fine. Looks like we won though, so that's good." And All Might's like, "You too. your two are gonna become like very great heroes. I can guarantee it. And as he's saying this, the media would be actually listening, and they would have heard what he said. And as this is happening, he looks back and kind of gives them a smile and says that these two are going to become, he basically repeats what he says, but towards the camera this time. And people would be watching this, including the classmates, and they would be like, oh my gosh, is that, Izuku on the TV or on the news? And people would be kind of surprised, and they'd be cheering him on, thinking that he was a great hero. So yeah, I'm gonna end it here, and in the next video we'll go over the kind of, the beginning of the next arc. I don't know. So yeah, with that being said, it's gonna be the end of the video. So yeah,